All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Friday, everybody. I'm super excited to have another Friday Friends. Last week, we had some technical difficulties. So I just want to reiterate that Pam will be coming back. I think we've got her scheduled to come back in November. So, um, so we'll go ahead and let her get her time back because I didn't want you to not meet Pam last time. In the meantime, today is Friday. We do Friday Friends. I love the opportunity to share my friends with everybody in my network because I know some really cool people. Today is no exception. We've got Jennifer Halloran here from Everybody Needs an Advocate, and I am super excited. Jennifer and I are newer friends, but we were very fast friends. I feel like we
Mhm.
connected very, very quickly, and I can't wait to share her with you. So I'm going to let Jennifer, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, your practice, how you got to be an advocate.
Thank you, Nicole. It's so great to be here, and I'm so enjoying the circle. I'm a fairly new member of the circle, and it's been amazing. Um, yes, my company is called Everybody Needs a Nurse, and we are patient advocates that support seniors and their families as they go through the challenges of aging. We started in, yeah, which is a lot,
Yeah,
right?
right.
We started
All of the
all the
things, right?
challenges, exactly. We started in 2007. So we are kind of a great grandma patient
Mhm.
advocacy business. And this company was started by my mom, Diane Halloran,
Mhm.
who was a nurse with over 40 years experience and a master's in public health and lots of things. And she saw the gaps that we're all familiar with between what clients actually know and what their doctors and other people
Yeah.
not only think they know, but expect them to know. And so
Hmm.
we started off. I was an academic. My first career, I got a PhD in English literature from UNC. I so basically, I say my company's Everybody Needs a Nurse. I am not a nurse, but I speak the language because
Hmm.
my mom and my dad are both nurses. And so
Oh,
growing
wow.
up, that was what we talked about: nursing, nurse staffing. My
Hmm.
dad was a professor of nursing, so we got the full bore of nursing. And so I ran away to join the circus, which for me was getting a PhD in English literature. It was about as far away from nursing as I could imagine. My parents would say, my dad would go, I could get you into any nursing school in the country. And I'd say, no, please. But
Oh,
nursing
no,
pulls you
thank you.
back in. And one of the things that I was teaching English literature, and it was
Hmm.
like, I'm helping people. Okay. I'm helping these students, but not really. And I got to the end of my academic
Mm.
tenure and I'm like, I'm sick of this. I want to go somewhere where I can really help people. And that's about when my mom started this company. And so
Mm.
I've been on board since pretty much the beginning. And I
Wow.
officially joined in 2008. Yeah, it's been a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I take over, I
So
do
you've
the kind
helped
of
a
business
lot
part.
of people.
Yes, yes.
A
And that's
lot of
been
people. And yeah,
you make such a difference in people's lives. I mean,
right.
everybody comes it's especially with the aging process, people have illnesses, people have things, and they don't know what to do, and their children don't know what to do.
Right. Right. It's it's so confusing and it's so challenging because of all of the extra things that are happening as we age, as we're not feeling well. Before we came on, we were just talking about a situation where I'm pretty adept at healthcare and feel like I can advocate for myself. And yet, and still, there was a situation literally real time where I'm working to get a new script. There was an error in the dosage, and I was talking to the pharmacist. And at the end of the call, this is where, at the end of the call, the pharmacist said to me, Yes, go ahead and call your provider back and have them send in a new order with the correct dosing." And I said, "Okay." And so then I proceeded to try and reach my provider, which we know can be that can be a process in and of
That's a
itself,
challenge,
right?
yes.
Exactly. This morning, I realized this happened yesterday afternoon. This morning, I was like, I could probably ask my pharmacist to help me with that, right? And I didn't engage that avenue of assistance because I was just kind of taken aback in the
You're in the
moment.
middle
So,
of it.
yeah. So talk to us about how your practice and how you help with
Well,
those
it
situations.
reminds me so much. So the name of our company, which is a very, fun name, although it kind of gets us mixed in with home care and other things, but Everybody Needs a Nurse came from people would call my mom all the time with questions about what was going on with them. Everything from, I've got a spot on my arm. Do I need to get it checked out? To, my mother's dying in the hospital. What are some phrases I can use to get some answers? And a lot of the people that called us were other nurses because that's who my parents knew. And so my mom would hang up the phone and say, everybody needs a nurse. Even a
Mhm.
nurse needs a nurse. And
Yeah.
what we found is that that's true. And, I've been in that situation too, where I know that as an advocate, when I step back and think about here are all the options. I can see all options. But when I'm in it and I'm sick and things are going on, I don't
Yeah.
think about that. I don't think that way.
Right.
I'm just focused on solving the problem. So
Right.
that's one of the ways that we help our clients is that, we see all the options and can kind of navigate for what are some other ways? What are some workarounds for this? What
Oh,
are some other, can we get to this by calling the pharmacy? One of our big pieces of advice that we give to everybody is, who tries to call their doctor, it's like, call the nurse, leave a message for the
yes.
nurse, because that's her
Yes.
job or his job to be there and answer those questions. And they'll get back to you,
To
whereas your
you.
doctor may or may not.
Right.
So, all of that kind of stuff, we can sort through it all and see. A lot of times people have, their doctor. So one of our things, our doctor, a doctor for one of our clients said, you have prostate cancer. Here are three options, watchful waiting,
Mhm.
surgery, or, radiation. And go ahead, go home and decide which one you want. And it's like, and we say
Wow.
it's like handing
Yeah.
somebody blueprints and going, build me a bridge and come back when it's built.
Right.
Like, how do you know?
Oh,
So
yeah.
to have somebody
Yeah.
that you can talk that stuff through, who understands and can go, well, here are the side effects of radiation. Here
Perfect.
are, here's the the pros and cons of watchful waiting. And have the person talk about it rather than,
Right.
you know, just, throwing a dart or going, well, this one
Right.
sounds good.
Right. Or this is what everybody else says I should do.
Right.
That,
Yes. That's a
like
good
that's a
one.
real thing. Yeah, that's a real
Absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely. Or even
Yeah.
like,
So
oh, well, my doctor said I could pick among the three, but, they seem to kind of hint maybe this one. And it's like, you know, having a person at the doctor's office, and that's one of the things we do, and,
nice.
lots of advocates do that, um, be at the doctor's office so we can look and see if there's any kind of hints that the doctor's giving or say,
Right.
no, they really were just laying out options.
Like,
So all of
right.
that stuff.
I love it. I love it. Jennifer, as I'm thinking here, I'm thinking, so gosh, you've been in this stuff for, like you said, since 2000, you personally since 2008, right?
Yes.
And the organization with your mom since 2007. What would you say is the biggest um, development, or how have things changed? Or have they
Mm.
been relatively the same and you're seeing the same types of issues today that you were then? I'm really curious to kind of hear some of that.
Well, in terms of our clients, um, it's really the same. They need, most of our clients have chronic illnesses. We deal with supporting people through these things, and we're usually working with somebody for months, years, to kind of shepherd them through to end of life. And, that's one of the things that we've been able to do. What has changed, it's sort of interesting, is that we're starting to get people who know what a patient advocate is.
Wow.
When I started in 2008, you would say, I'm a
Mhm.
patient advocate, and people would just look at you like, and they didn't know
What?
if like you were filing lawsuits or you were, what it was that we did.
Yeah.
And there's still
Yeah.
there's a lot of education that's needed. I think we
Oh,
all
sure.
know that. Um,
Yeah.
but at least the term is out there now and people will
There.
go, "Oh, I may have heard of that."
What did that? Yeah.
So, we're getting there.
Encouraging.
It's
It's
more slowly than
encouraging.
I like, but it is
Yeah,
encouraging.
yeah.
It
That's
it is
really
a big
encouraging
difference.
on 2 fronts, right? So, the first front that I think that that's really encouraging is that, well, I guess not really encouraging, but that the service line, like the service and the need for the service has not changed very much. I
Yes.
suppose it depends on how you look at that.
Mm,
But the truth is, and those of us that have been around for a while, we know that things in the world of healthcare change very slowly. And so
mhm.
it's not surprising that, in 2007, we saw the same types of needs for patient advocacy as we're seeing today. Um, and obviously it's encouraging because we're getting closer to the mass acceptance and the awareness around patient advocacy, which you and I have talked about,
Yes.
about how that's, I think, accelerating. And it's very exciting for those of us that offer these services to now have some sort of awareness to be working with. And it really is amazing that now people are at least familiar with the term, even if they don't know exactly what the term might
Right.
mean. And the truth is, our industry has multiple meanings. And I think it's
Mhm.
evolving as happening. There's different types of patient advocates and there's different roles that we can play. And so, but it's all very exciting.
It's such a baby profession too. I mean, it
Yes.
really is. And
Yes.
that's one of the things that makes it so exciting because we are the people who are formulating what it means
Mhm.
to be a patient advocate. There's no
Yes.
big tradition that says this is what you have to do. And so,
Right.
brilliant advocates are coming up with ethical and scope of practice and
Right.
wonderful things that you can learn about, but also in our own practices, it's like we're kind of figuring it
Right.
out. And
Yes, very
it's
much so.
it's really cool.
Yeah, Jennifer and I, we connected so much and so quickly. And you mentioned in your last answer about this idea of spending, a lifetime with your clients. And one of the things that is coming up in the circle next week, so if you're thinking about attending, I would encourage you to do so. The name of the session is How to Upsell and Keep It Classy. And the reason and what we're really going to be talking about is how to engage with our clients so that we become an integral part of their healthcare journey, not just for today, this week, this month, but for the entire journey.
Mhm.
And how we do that and what that looks like. And I would love to hear something about a client that you've successfully engaged in that way and the difference that it's made in that patient's healthcare journey. Could you
Oh,
speak to that?
absolutely, absolutely. There's so many clients that it just kind of warms my heart when I think about where they were. I think one cup pops to mind right away. So our model is really based on long term. We have weekly visits that we tell people, give us 3 months anyway. They can let us go at any time, but we need to come and see you enough so that you really know who we are and we know who you are and that you trust us and we know you. And so when we started with this couple, their daughter, the husband and wife, the wife had memory loss. And the husband had just come out of the hospital for pneumonia. And the daughter said, well, actually to a case manager at the hospital said, well, we're going to give home health, from through Medicare for, 3 months or whatever. What happens next? And
Yeah.
amazingly, this person was like, gee, I just got a pamphlet from somebody. I just got a brochure. They never recommended us to another client after that. We were like,
Oh,
we're taking
wow.
them to lunch and we're doing all this stuff. It's like, no, that was a one-time thing. But
One-time deal.
they were great clients, and they were living at home. They got a system because he was too weak to drive and she couldn't quite remember how to drive.
Yeah.
She would drive and he would tell her, like, okay, now put it in gear. It was like that kind of
Oh,
thing. And they would
yeah.
go to McDonald's for their food, the drive-through. And their daughter was like, they might as well be eating dirt.
Yeah.
And so we came to visit, did our initial assessment, and the husband was like, it's a lot of money. I don't know about, and we kind of said, well, your daughter really wants us here. And you own your house, you have some money, you have some things. And he goes, well, I've been saving that money for a rainy day. And we looked at him and he went, guess
Oh,
what? Today's the day.
rainy. Today's rainy.
Today it's
Yeah.
raining. And
Oh,
so we followed them, and they very quickly moved to a CCRC, continuing care retirement
mhm.
community. And so we followed them from their house to the CCRC. And basically, this man, this lovely man, got his wife into that place and
Oh,
died about a week later.
oh my
It was
gosh.
like knowing that she was
Oh,
safe. And so we
wow.
followed her in her progression through the CCRC. As her
Mm,
dementia got worse, she ended up in the kind of the health unit of the
right.
CCRC.
Mhm.
And, it was amazing to me the things that we saw and were able to catch before they became big issues, even though she was in the most advanced part of
Yes.
this. So
Yeah.
one of the things with this woman was that she could dress herself. So nobody
Mm.
came and helped her dress, which is great. Um,
Mm.
but she was kind of after, and this is seeing her every week
Every
for
week.
months.
Yeah.
She would
Yeah.
say, oh, my leg itches. I don't know. I've been having some itchiness with my leg. So she
Mm.
pulled up her pants and we looked at it and it's like, oh, you're wearing compression hose. And
Oh,
I think you're allergic to the compression hose. And her skin was
wow.
breaking down. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
but there was something that had gone on for months that nobody ever saw because she dressed herself. And she didn't,
Right.
and because we had been seeing her for every week for all of these months, she would tell us something that she didn't tell her daughter,
And it
didn't tell any of the staff there. She didn't tell anybody. So when I go to market our
oh,
business, as we see people, we really emphasize
mhm.
that relationship, that we see
It's
people over time, that we know, we were able to talk to her about her husband who had passed away because we met him,
mm.
about her
Right. You
house.
knew him.
Right, we knew him. The house
Yeah.
that had been sold, before she moved, so we can talk about the different rooms of the house and where her kids were. We got to hear all of her stories about growing up,
Yes.
um, and it
Yeah.
was amazing. She had an amazing life, and so it was
Mhm.
really fun for us, which, is beside the point, but
Yeah.
also but
Mhm.
also it's
Right.
like, we love to hear this stuff. And
Right.
so and her daughter, so the daughter who hired us was the only child who lived up in Boston, the mother's in
Mm.
North Carolina,
Oh, wow.
and said, my mom's telling you stuff that she's never talked to me about. And so when people start seeing, also before we were there, the daughter was
Mhm.
flying in every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so to
Yeah.
say, okay, you know, the time, money, stress of getting on an airplane every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
She had her own teenage, child that was, you know, being a teenager,
Teenager. We all
right?
know.
She was a
Oh,
sandwich,
we know, right?
right? And
Enough
so
said about that.
that
Yeah.
kind of, telling people you can relax because there's somebody who knows the story and you don't have to orient somebody every time you want to do
Every
something.
time.
She was
Right.
able to go on vacation and she trusted us to know that we were looking after things and that her
Right.
mom would be okay while she was gone.
Exactly.
So all of that stuff,
It is.
to me, those are priceless. And she was able to
They
be the
are.
daughter and
Yeah.
talk to her mom about daughter stuff, not
Right,
about
and not about all of the other things,
that's
and,
right.
I think that there is so much this is where we were talking about, there's so much value in that. You said it, not having to reorient someone every time, not having to revisit and re-go through all of the history and all of the things, right? Because, like you said, you were
Right.
there through that, and so there's no additional
And
orientation.
and it's
It's you
about,
bring that value.
so much of what we do is about being proactive. And our whole
Yes.
system is based on being reactive.
Reactive.
And so, yes, when people have
Yes.
this crisis, then all these people shoot in and do all this stuff. And then everything gets back to where it was before, or maybe, a little less, and
Yeah.
everybody leaves. And then the next crisis, a whole new pile of people
Nope.
come. And so to
Yes.
have somebody there who's like, well, you know, I can see what might be coming because I see you every single week. And,
Right.
there is real value in that.
Value in that.
Um,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that's how I market.
Yeah. Well, and if your practice, and I'm assuming is very similar to my experience with my clients, is that once the hardest part of what we do is building that initial
Yes,
comfort zone, right? Building that trust, building that relationship. Once we've established that, and there's usually a point in the relationship where you've arrived at that
right.
moment, right? Yeah, and for me, it's usually when somebody says, "Hey, will you just call and do that for me?" I know that I've arrived at the moment where they're like, "I trust you and I'm ready to just let you help me." You
Exactly.
know, and when that
Ours is and
happens,
it's
it's
interesting.
yeah,
Ours is going often, we'll see people, they'll go to their doctor every 3 months. So we'll see them for a couple of months, and then we'll go to the doctor with them. And that
mm,
often is the turning point of like, "Oh, this is,"
this is
you're not gonna boss me around and tell my doctor stuff,
no,
but you'll be there to one time we had a couple of clients who a couple who were clients who, had a doctor's appointment, and our nurse got them into, like, a separate waiting room. And they thought, "Oh, after that, she hangs the moon. It's like you get the VIP concierge." Well, she just asked, but nobody thinks to do that.
right? Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like, these little things that make a big difference to people.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that cements the relationship.
Right. And once that relationship is there,
Oh, yeah.
it's you become their go-to. Like,
Right.
it's like well, you're their nurse.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like people come to trust and love their nurse, and we
That's
love them
right.
back. It's
Right?
wonderful.
It's wonderful. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, you and I could talk for hours and
I
hours
know
and
we could,
hours.
we could.
I know, we really could. So I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I always enjoy working with you and talking with you. I want everyone to have the opportunity, if anyone, whoever's listening, watching later, and wants to connect with you and or everybody needs a nurse, how do they do that? How do they connect with you and learn more about you?
Well, our website is everybodyneedsanurse.com, and it's
Perfect.
everyone with a body. That's how I remind people that it's not everyone, it's everybody needs a nurse.
Everybody needs a
Yeah.
nurse. That's so true. Yes. I love
And
it. .com.
I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. We have
Perfect.
a business page on Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank
I look
you.
forward, like I said, Wednesday in the circle, we're going to be talking about these lifetime relationships because it makes anyway. Anyway,
Makes
we're
a
going to be
huge
talking
difference.
about it Wednesday. It makes a
I'm so
huge
excited.
difference. It
That's
will,
great.
yes, me too. So I will see you there. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. And I'll talk to you again soon, Jennifer.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.